Now, 7 o'clock. It's now time for the Morning Watch. Stay tuned and be blessed.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, who's taking care of the health care workers? And in the second watch, COVID vaccination of children, risks, realities, and responsibilities. For our social media question, we ask, how comfortable are you with giving children between 12 and 18 any COVID vaccine? Please share your responses on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM, and also on WhatsApp, 876-997-3125, using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's I quote.
There is nothing wrong with having nothing to say as long as you don't say it out loud. And of course, it's coming from an unknown source.
Okay. Good morning, Roshane.
Good morning, Dylan. How are you doing?
I'm well. Hey, man, what are you doing in studio this time of the morning?
Well, good question.
You said at last?
Good question. Good question, sir.
Anyway, good to have you on board with us, Roshane, again on the Morning Watch.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll be right back after this break.
The first sound they make is to simply let the world know they're here. And then it's our duty to help them show the world why they're here in the first place.
Give them every advantage with the Guardian Achiever, a plan that provides for their educational dreams and protects their health and life in the process. For more information, call 888-4LIFE to speak to an advisor or visit myguardiangroup.com.
There are a million reasons to want to own a home.
I want more space for the children.
I am tired of paying rent.
My wife and I want an investment.
Go from future plans to keys in hand with an NCB mortgage. Get rates as low as 6.95%, 100% financing, and up to 40 years to repay. Plus, get the life insurance and home insurance you need all in one place. Visit myhome.jncb.com to get started. Conditions apply.
Yes, miss, the online class is going well. My parents got big tablet savings from Flow, so I learn smarter and better from home.
Smartness runs in your family. Get 2 Samsung LTE tablets for only $6,000 plus GCT each when you bundle up your Flow mobile and home internet. Keep everyone connected to success with fiber fast internet and a new tablet for every lesson and study session anywhere. Visit a Flow store or discoverflow.co for excellent tablet savings. Conditions apply.
Exporters, have you heard? Certificates of origin are now online. Starting August 23, 2021, all exporters requiring a certificate of origin from the Trade Board Limited must submit their application using the Jamaica Single Window for Trade, J-SWIFT. All locally manufactured goods and agricultural produce for export must have an authorized certificate of origin in order to access and obtain preferential treatment in other territories and markets. Traders, your benefits include greater convenience and faster processing time, online application, payment, and approval, online access to the approved certificate of origin, and a system-generated CARICOM invoice. For more details, contact J-SWIFT at info@jswift.gov.jm. Jamaica Single Window for Trade. J-SWIFT, your window to trade.
Imagine styles of tiles for every room. So trendy, sophisticated, stunning, yet cool. Simply unique. Tiles for floors to walls and everything in between. Make your best home anything but ordinary. At Home and Things.
Vanities, sinks, baths, and showers. Cool bathroom ideas. We've got you covered. Finding style in every detail. Make your best home anything but ordinary. At Home and Things.
CIBC First Caribbean reminds you that our ABM cards will be deactivated on September 30, 2021 and upgraded to the Visa debit card. Your Visa debit card does everything your ABM card does and more. Use it at any ABM and to shop locally, internationally, and online with funds directly from your savings or checking account. Visit CIBCFCIB.com to sign up for a CIBC First Caribbean Visa debit card today.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, last week, the newspaper headlines read, "Healthcare workers in trouble," and "SAV nurses buckling under COVID pressure." Now, when our nurses, doctors, and other healthcare providers work almost non-stop for days, taking care of patients who attends to their physical and mental needs. And when they do this within a pandemic for over a year and a half, how are they expected to perform their duties at optimum level? This morning, we are asking, therefore, who's taking care of our healthcare workers? And in so doing, we have online Mrs. Patsy Edwards Henry, President of the Nurses Association of Jamaica, and Professor Wendell Abel, consultant, psychiatrist, and therapist. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, dear listeners. Good morning, Prof.
Professor Abel?
We're waiting on Mr. Abel. He's coming on shortly.
Okay, all right. So far we have Mrs. Edwards Henry. Welcome again, Nurse Edwards Henry.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Now, how are the nurses presently coping, Nurse Edwards Henry, especially in light of this third wave of the pandemic?
I am not sure if the nurses are coping very well. I read an article recently where somebody was saying that we were trained for this and we shouldn't really say we are tired, but the truth of the matter is that we are tired. Nurses have been going, as you said, from last year, March. We have had the outbreaks. We have had the waves. We have had overfull hospitals. We have had to be nursing patients in different settings. Nurses are under 10 in different field hospitals. It's the same number of nurses. As a matter of fact, Arcada has probably even decreased because we do have a number of nurses who have migrated. We could say over 300 nurses have migrated since the beginning of this year alone. And nurses constantly feel unappreciated and unrecognized, and I think they're at their tipping point now. And with this third wave, it's even worse. The nurses have been going, and on top of that, we are having what we call mass vaccination. So it is the same set of nurses that are going in the institutions, in the health facilities, that are conducting these mass vaccinations. I know that the nurses, we had no movement day for 3 days. And on those 3 no movement days, the nurses were at the vaccine centers from 7 in the morning till 9 at night. It was a no movement day, so there were no transportation. So you can imagine those who drove had to take home those who didn't drive. And it's just challenging. But I do want to say that even with all the challenges, we are continuing the fight in this pandemic, because we are determined to get out of the pandemic and to get back to normal life soon.
You mentioned, Nurse Edwards Henry, that over 300 nurses have migrated so far this year. Yeah, what are the main reasons for that migration taking place?
Sometimes we skip around the main reason, and research has shown that when we do the analysis, money doesn't come up as the number one reason. It speaks to working conditions, it speaks to lack of resources. But then at the end of the day, it comes down to being able to live comfortably, buy what you want, send your children to school, own a home, own a vehicle, and have some money to live comfortably at the end of your working days.
And those are the main reasons, in spite of the fact that we are experiencing a pandemic.
It is still the main reason, because remember, the overseas agencies are still recruiting, and they are recruiting to help with their pandemic. And some of the figures that are being offered are ridiculous. They're offering nurses $4,000 or $5,000 per day to work in COVID areas, and I'm talking about US dollars. So when you listen to the offers that are out there, nurses are going to want to take up the offer, and not only nurses here in Jamaica, but when you dialogue with the nurses overseas, they are moving from the different areas. They are also moving from hospitals to the areas that are paying the big bucks.
Wow. I got that. Dr. Abel is on.
Okay, morning, Prof.
Yes, morning to you all.
Yes. How are you doing this morning?
I'm trying to cope.
Yes, right.
I just heard Nurse Henry, and I just want to just pause and just acknowledge the fantastic work that our nurses have been doing.
Yeah.
They carry the brunt and the burden of the healthcare system because they're on the floor 24/7. Right in the field, it's our public health nurses who are at the forefront, vaccinating the clients, and sometimes being exposed to, sometimes not so appropriate behavior from our people sometimes, but we need to just acknowledge the great work and sacrifice that our nurses have always made and continue to make. And as Nurse Henry said, they have options.
Right. But before she even said that, I'm hoping you heard when she expressed many of the experiences that they are now undergoing. Well, as a psychiatrist, what are your foremost thoughts and main concerns?
What you just shared? The concerns that the nurses share also, and experiences also, I must say, shared by other healthcare workers, right? A lot of people, persons in emergency room, or nurses, doctors, other healthcare providers, everybody at all levels, persons in the intensive care unit, people on the COVID ward were actually taking care of the patients, nurses, the doctors, other caregivers, everybody. But we have to remember that this is a pandemic. It's unprecedented and it's catastrophic. And you're never ever trained to do this. So although people, as Nurse Henry was saying, that people are saying that we're trained to do this work, yes, we're trained to care, but no training ever adequately prepares you to function in a pandemic as we're now have to be functioning. Yeah. And because it's so demanding and it's continuous, it's never ending, it has put an emotional, physical, spiritual, and sometimes ethical toll on everybody. Yet, we also have to remember that as healthcare providers, we're also affected by the pandemic and our families. I mean, I was exposed to a patient and I tested positive, and I now understand the emotional toll that people go through. So people have to remember, as healthcare providers, we're vulnerable, more so than many other persons, yes? Because of the long working hours, continuously having to take care of persons, we begin to develop what you call compassion fatigue. Every day you're dealing with hundreds of people. It just pulls on your whole emotion and your whole compassion. And then
I'm sorry, Prof. Could you just hold that thought, please? We're at a break. We'll be right back. You hearing anything?
They're at a break.
I'm not sure what's happening.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great.
You want me to continue?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead and continue.
I was talking about compassion fatigue. And you may ask what it is. It's really having to take care of people day in, day out, 24/7. And having to go home and take care of yourself and family members. And after a while, you just become tired of taking care of everybody. And it's just human. And so sometimes you're at work and you may not have the emotional reserve to extend the care as you really want to do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
This also results in burnout. Another psychological issue that we face as healthcare providers is constant grieving. Grieving as you deal with people who are sick, people who have died, people who have lost loved ones, and you hear the stories on a daily basis. And sometimes we also experience what we call survivor guilt, after having worked a long day, having done your very best, and probably somebody didn't make it, or somebody got worse. You go home having to deal with the feeling, did I do my best? What else could I have done?
Yes.
So there are a wide range of emotional and psychological experiences that healthcare workers are going to have. Now, at the university last August, we had done a study, and this wasn't primarily on healthcare workers, but on the population and generally. And we're asking, how was COVID affecting persons? And more than half the persons said, look, we're getting depressive symptoms, we're having anxiety symptoms. And what was interesting, 97%, almost 100%, almost everybody said we need psycho-emotional support, we need psychological support as we cope.
Yes.
And so what we find, and this is especially so when you're going through a surge, the psychological, the emotional toll becomes even greater. And certainly this is a period where we have to just step back and just remember that we need to provide the support to our healthcare workers, especially those on the front line every day, right? It's very important and we should never ever take them for granted.
Yes. Nurse Edwards-Henry, still with us? Nurse Edwards-Henry?
Yes, I'm still here.
Good. Yeah. In light of what Prof just said a while ago, what are your thoughts? What are your responses? Are you going through those things that he mentioned?
A number of nurses. And as a result, some persons are thinking of leaving the profession. Some persons are thinking of just staying home. The complaints what they complain about now are simple things. I don't know if you've heard the phrase that when you're tired the ant or the fly is a bother.
Yes.
So the simplest of things tips them off.
Yes.
So even something that, you know, a nurse or a healthcare worker would have tolerated in a normal setting, you hear them complaining about it, quarreling, making a fuss, making a big deal about sometimes you would think nothing. And I do agree with Prof. The compassion fatigue is evident in a number of staff.
So if I could also add to this, the majority, when we go out in the community and ask people how they're doing, one group that stands out are working mothers. And they tell you that they're overwhelmed because not only they have to be working, but they have to be taking care of their children, family members, older parents, right, and older relatives.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the majority of our nurses are female. And we have to remember that while they're at work, they have their children at home who have to be supervised online. Yes?
Yes.
And it may be a nurse who has worked the night before and she goes home and she has to be up during the day to attend to the children. Can you imagine the demand?
Mm-hmm.
And because she's a nurse, she's naturally a caregiver. So she's a person that her older parents and older community members and church people are going to call on. And so the worker, the nurse and other healthcare workers,
it doesn't end at the job,
the hospital or the clinic, but you take that work home and into the community 24/7. Yes, and I'm just highlighting the tremendous impact that this pandemic would have had on all healthcare workers, especially nurses.
Nurse Edwards Henry, what is it that the nurses find most distressing, disturbing, or discouraging? In light of all that is going on already, in light of all the setbacks and all of the difficulties, what is it that you have been finding on a day-to-day basis that really, puts you over the edge?
I don't know if it is any one thing. On some days, it will be just the shortage of staff. On another day, it may be the long hours. On another day, it may be the number of deaths that they have to face within a specific shift, as Prof said.
Yeah.
I visited Percy Junior Hospital last week, Friday, and not just the nurses, I visited with the entire staff because they lost a nurse and they also lost a retired nurse, and other staff members were losing family members. And the nurse said, can you imagine 2 of us on the ward and 4 people die in one night, one shift? And it's just being around death and dying and sickness and having to be that person who persons are looking to. So while you're there and you're around this death and dying, and sometimes you want to scream because you can't manage it anymore, persons are looking to you because you are the nurse. You are the healthcare worker. You can't cry. You can't break down. And,
you said can't? You said can't, nurse?
No, you can't.
Can't or should not?
You should not. You're not expected to. The expectation is that you are the superhero, the wonder person, that person who stands there and that person who's always able to give a reassuring smile or a reassuring pat. And sometimes you really don't have it in you to give. You really don't. So it's a myriad of things. It's not any one thing. It just differs from day to day, from area to area.
And how do you find the patients in that regard? I mean, are they appreciative, generally speaking, or?
I would want to say that the healthcare, the job itself, it ranges. It is a job where you get a lot of gratitude, and it is a very ungrateful job. So you have those who, when the outcomes are good, and you think you have done your best, or you have done your best, that you get a thank you, God bless you. And then you have when the outcomes are not so good, and you would have put out everything, and persons just, and sometimes it's just in the moment, they just don't seem to understand.
Yeah.
And so you get gratitude, and you get self-gratification when you go home and know that you have done your best, but then it's also a very ungrateful job.
And then there are those who are going to say, but nurses are trained for this. They should know to handle these things.
And we are trained, but we are not trained. We are trained. We are trained professionals.
Yes.
Healthcare are trained professionals. But we have to understand that what is happening now is an extraordinary situation. It's not normal. We're not practicing in a normal situation.
Professor, solutions now on recommendations.
That nurses are humans. In fact, I'll tell you, since the pandemic, I've been over 6 to talk. And the most painful session I had was one with nurses after the death of a colleague.
Yes.
The grieving and the pain and the hurt and everything that came together. And I was reminded and humbled that we're all humans. How do we, what the suggestion?
Yeah, recommendations to them and to us as citizens of the country.
First of all, whenever for those of people who have traveled, remember the flight attendant, when she gives that safety detail, she says to you, take care of yourself. When if the airplane is in crisis and the oxygen mask falls from the ceiling, put it onto your face first before you try to take care of anybody else. So, as healthcare providers, every day we get up to remind ourselves, take care of yourself first, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. The other thing is that we have to remember to just be compassionate with ourselves. Yeah. And I tell people, every day you get up, throughout the day, you give yourself the butterfly hug. And as you're in studio, you can do it, both you and Edward Henry. Take your right hand, put over your left shoulder, left hand, put over your right shoulder, and just pat yourself on your shoulder. And just remind yourself that you're doing your very best. These are tough times. We're doing our best. It's called the butterfly hug. And as you do it, I see you all smiling, right? And these are simple techniques. We also have to remind ourselves that it's okay to be not okay sometimes.
Yeah.
All of us. And that nurse, as she goes through the days, and they're going to be down days, anxious days, painful days, tearful days. Don't be hard on yourselves, right? We just have to remind ourselves that these are tough and rough times. And it's okay to be not okay sometimes. It's also important for us to express our feelings. And it's good that you've created this space this morning for us as healthcare providers to share with you and to have an outlet. But also we have to ensure that in our environment, hospitals, health centers, clinics, and so on, we create that space for people to be able to just step aside and just be able to express themselves and share how they're feeling, yes? Because every day we go to work, every day we go home, we have a lot of feelings bottled up in ourselves, and we have to have that space to just share. And we also have to remember that, connections are important, community. And then I think this is where health facilities have been putting measures in place to just provide support to its staff. And the Nursing Association, I know they have done that to provide the support and to help people to just maintain a sense of community and connection, because that's important, and it's something that will get us through these difficult times. Yes. And, just to remind people, as part of their self-care, make sure we're getting adequate amount of rest, pay attention to our diet as best as possible, ensure that we're getting our physical exercise, and just take care of your mental and spiritual health. Yes, these things are important. And whatever technique that works for you to manage your stress, whether it's praying, it's exercise, it's meditation, it's reading a book, it's gardening, it's going out for a walk, going to the country, it's taking a vacation when you can. Do what you can during these tough and difficult times to just sustain you.
Thank you.
Just keep you going.
Thank you, Prof. A fitting note on which to end. And I want to thank you both for joining us. Thank you as healthcare workers within your own right for your faithful service to the nation. God bless you.
You're
Yes,
welcome. Thanks for having me.
Remember, take
And
care of
have
yourself.
a good day and stay safe.
Thank you both. Listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
Auto Loan, helping you on your journey. Roll out and make a statement in your brand new vehicle.
The time by JN will help you find a way is 7:31. This is Love 101, the family station.
Monche! Yes, I'm heading out now. Straight to Cars Auto Montego Bay.
The entire Jamaica is heading to Cars Auto.
About variety. And the vehicle them clean as a whistle, and the price right. A true where them say good quality, best price.
Cars Auto.
And that's it. You know your way around the computer, so look like a pro, not true. And I learn these skills for free through the Flow Foundation. How we say start up the Skills for the Future program that's in partnership with the Caribbean School of Data. Their basic digital skills course opened a world of opportunities for me.
Is it still available?
Yeah, man, and you can learn in no time.
Take control of your future for free. Register online at flowfoundationja.org.
Are you importing a used vehicle from the USA, UK, Japan, Singapore, or the UAE? Please be reminded that all used vehicles, including equipment such as backhoes, excavators, forklifts, riding lawnmowers, and trailers, must be sanitized before importation. Contact Auto Terminal Japan at www.inspections.jp for pre-shipment inspection details. A message from the Trade Board Limited.
Be forward! Is where you going? What do you mean? Me get my vaccine so me can touch the road now.
Touch road? You know your ears hard. The health people said this is only the first dose, and we need 2 doses to be fully protected.
Yeah? What do you mean?
When me mean, we're waiting for the second dose, Mr. Sir. So you try turn your yard and go and follow the protocols. Wear your mask, wash your hand, and keep your distance from other people.
Get vaccinated, get back to life. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
You are fresh, we say. Fresh move, fresh style, fresh juice, drink, fresh flavor. We drink fresh, orange, cranberry, lychee, fresh taste great.
Stay refreshed all summer long with our flavorful fresh juices and beat the summer heat with our super cool fresh caps. When you purchase 3 fresh 500 ml, you will receive a branded cap offer valid at participating outlets island-wide while stocks last. Check out our social media pages at FreshJA to find an outlet near you.
Get fresh,
Drink fresh, look fresh for the summer.
Chris and Charles has something special for you this and every Friday at 11:45 a.m. Listen to the information carefully, then answer the questions in the Chris and Charles Financial Quiz Corner. There is so much to learn and you can win something fabulous from Chris and Charles. That's the Chris and Charles Financial Quiz Corner, Fridays at 11:45 a.m. Chris and Charles, when you think loans, think Chris and Charles. And it's on the family station Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's take a look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. In the Gleaner, vaccination hurdle, green cards, October 1. Let me read that again. Vaccination hurdle for green cards, October 1. And it says here that Jamaicans applying for permanent residence in the United States must be vaccinated as part of the green card process. Also, we see here record one-day COVID vaccination. Take fight to social media conspiracy theorists, says the doctors. And then, book dream has come true. Gunshot victim turned author basks in triumph amid tragedy. In the Observer, hospital CEO anticipates dropping COVID numbers after lockdown. And we also see milk crate challenge danger. Doctor warns hospitals may not be able to give immediate attention to the injured. And then finally, abandoned. Niece insists state must compensate man who spent 50 years in prison without trial. Wow. Those are some of the major headlines in the newspapers. Coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our social media question. How comfortable are you with giving children between 12 and 18 any COVID vaccine? Please leave a comment on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. We'll be right back.
Drive and arrive in comfort and style when you access a Dream Wheels auto loan from the Manchester Cooperative Credit Union. With rates starting as low as 7.5%, 100% financing, up to 10 years to repay and quick approval time, your auto loan is just a phone call away. Conditions apply. Call us at 962-0401 or 964-3648 or visit our offices in Mandeville and Christiana for further details. Manchester Cooperative Credit Union, where service exceeds expectation.
Bills to pay and funds to transfer? No problem. I do it all on my time with JN Bank Live Online Banking. It's my simple and secure as that online banking.
Phone credit need a top up? No problem. I do it with JN Bank Live Online Banking.
It's quick and easy with just a few clicks. JN Bank Live Online Banking that goes where you go. Sign up today. Visit jnbank.com. JN Bank will help you find a way.
DIGICEL. First in a class when you have Digicel. School as Prime Bundle. That's right. With your educational website, make you bright. Head to the top of your class with your first Digicel SIM and a Schoolers Prime Bundle. Get over 142 gigabytes of data so you can have access to educational sites, social media platforms, Digicel apps, and more for as low as $1,500 for 28 days. Get a Schoolers Prime Bundle with your first Digicel SIM card. Visit the Digicel store today. DIGICEL.
Have you heard? Gideon 300 School of Intercessory is now open for registration. The school is for you if you have a call of intercessory in your life and desire to become a mature intercessor. Its specialty is teaching and deliverance, and it provides an environment where you will learn theoretically and practically. Visit the website at www.gideon300ministry.org/school-of-intercessory for more information.
CIBC First Caribbean reminds you that our ABM cards will be deactivated on September 30, 2021 and upgraded to the Visa debit card. Your Visa debit card does everything your ABM card does and more. Use it at any ABM and to shop locally, internationally, and online with funds directly from your savings or checking account. Visit CIBCFCIB.com to sign up for a CIBC First Caribbean Visa debit card today.
Become the hero on the scene by taking the COVID vaccine. Get vaccinated as soon as you get all the facts. Don't listen to the rumors. This vaccine might just make it possible for teachers to sit face to face with schoolers. This vaccine make it safer for everybody, from the young to the elderly. Don't you want to go back to living normally when things were more orderly? And if you want to live a long good life, then we all have to do what's right. So let's get vaccinated along with the heroes on the front line.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's join Roshane for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answered today's question.
All righty.
How comfortable are you with giving children between 12 and 18 any COVID vaccine? Roshane?
All right, so we have some responses here on WhatsApp, starting with this one. This one says, good morning, gentlemen. I'm a listener of your program every morning from Connecticut, and I have a problem with children between 12 and 18 years old being vaccinated with the COVID vaccine. Here in the U.S., even though not televised often, I have heard of cases in my state where children develop blood clots and even diagnosed with heart problems after taking the vaccine. I'm asking the relevant authorities, please, to stop putting our children at risk of lifelong complications that may follow after this jab. I am in the nursing field and I have tears in my eyes because of how things are handled. We are silenced. This is not medicine. Okay. All right, so I have about two more. This one says that will never happen. that's just that comment. That person is commenting that will never happen. This one says, good morning. Children should not get those vaccines, period. So those are the views of persons on WhatsApp. Over to you.
All right, thank you very much. Some strong views there. We appreciate the feedback. All right, so the preferred vaccine for children 12 years and above is here. And from last Saturday, the Pfizer vaccine has been administered to those who have the approval from their parents or guardians. But isn't this a high risk move on their part? And what's the reality of the situation? And if there is any unfortunate occurrence, who should be held responsible and accountable? To answer these and other related questions, we have joining us in this, the second watch, Dr. Tracy Evans Gilbert, Senior Associate Lecturer, Department of Child and Adolescent Health at University of the West Indies, as well as a consultant in pediatrics, tropical medicine and public health. And we also have joining us Mrs. Mitzi Harris Dillon, Interim President of the National Parent Teachers Association of Jamaica. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
John, good morning, Jamaica. All our listeners.
Yes. Good morning,
Dr. Gilbert.
Hi, morning. Thank you so much for having me on your program, and nice to meet you from the Parent Teachers Association and Mr. Toussaint.
Great. Okay. Let me begin with you, Dr. Evans Gilbert. What is your understanding of why the Pfizer vaccine and not the other vaccines are the ones that are recommended to be administered? And why start at age 12 and not earlier? And I bear in mind that I think Israel now starts at age 3.
Okay, the answer to that is very clear. It's that the Pfizer company has done some trials which included children and presented the safety and efficacy data to the World Health Organization. Luckily, I sit on the Caribbean Immunization Technical Advisory Group, and I sit in these meetings, and the company was able to share the evidence that they had concerning children and using the Pfizer vaccine. And as a result, the World Health Organization gave Pfizer and only Pfizer emergency use authorization for the use of this drug in that age group. And the other companies are doing trials but have not yet presented data to show that it is safe.
So the age 12, what is so significant about that age? And bear in mind that Israel now starts at age 3.
Well, the significance is that those are the age groups where the trials were done. So they cannot give the vaccine under age 12 because they do not have any evidence to support children under age 12 for it to be safe and efficacious. And so even in the US, where the FDA approved its use, they have 12 and up based on the studies that were presented to their regulators.
So is it that they only did the test with the, children at age 12, or is it that they did the test with children who were younger, but based on their findings, they said they're going to stick with age 12? Trying to understand that part.
They did not. They did not do any tests in children under age 12. It was 12 to 18. Initially, they did 16 and up, and then they lowered the number of age group that would be tested if they would tolerate the vaccine. And based on that information, that was presented to regulators and WHO, and permission was granted for that age group to be used. So I can say though that there are some other vaccines in other countries that were using their vaccine under the 12-year age group. I think there's some countries that use up to age 3 with some other vaccines, but they were not passed by regulators or the WHO. So this has gone through a rigorous set of evaluation before it was decided upon.
Yes, interesting. Mrs. Harris Dillon?
Yes.
Yes, as far as you are aware, what has been the response to the recent effort to get the children vaccinated in Jamaica, from your vantage point?
The reactions so far have been mixed. Initially, the responses that were coming in were on the favorable side, and it was agreed that we would support the initiative of the government to get our population vaccinated. Later on, we started getting some feedback from persons who were not in favor of it. I mean, there's generally mixed reactions, as you will see in social media and right across Jamaica. But we do support the vaccination efforts. The challenge that we have, though, is the lack of engagement in terms of educating the nation, educating our parents about the benefits, the pros and cons of the vaccine and the effect it will have on our children. One of the first steps that we took when we realized that this thing was coming on stream, I mean, we only heard about it like a day or two before the Pfizer vaccine for children actually arrived in the country. And we had to press gas and get in touch with a contact at the Ministry of Health and engage them in a session, a parent session just last Sunday. And we would certainly have to do some more sessions in terms of sensitizing our parents, giving them the information, breaking whatever myths there are, because you can appreciate there's a lot of misinformation and conspiracy theories out there as well. But we believe the government really needs to break it down for us to really understand everything that there is to know so that we can make a fully informed decision. It's going to take more than just advertising.
Yes.
You need to be on the ground communicating with our parents, whether through the community, through the national PTA, by whatever method. Our parents need to have a full understanding. Because we're not medical professionals. Well, medical professionals are parents, but the majority of our parents are not medical professionals, and we need it to be broken down so that we can fully understand the risk. There are some of us doing our own research, but we need to hear it from government through the ministry. This is what this is about, the vaccine is about. These are the pros and cons. These are how. These are the side effects, and this is how it may affect or not affect the children.
Yes. But generally speaking, Mrs. Harris Dillon, have the children given more favorable response vis-a-vis the parents and guardians? What are you picking up?
We have been hearing most of what we have been hearing from our parents, really, because we communicated with our parents, our guardians. One of the things that we encourage our parents to always do is to ensure that we engage with our children in discussion, especially as it relates to this vaccine and what effect it is supposed to have on their body and what are the benefits. But we need the information, the critical medical information that will guide the discussion and guide the decision.
Yes. Dr. Evans Gilbert, what were the concerns which caused the delay in children being given the opportunity to be vaccinated? And what are the concerns now, even with the Pfizer vaccine?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that question, and Mrs. Harris Dillon, I'm very heartened to hear that the Parent Teachers Association are in support of this, and I'm going to try my best to help to answer all the questions to help to bring some clarity to the matter. So the first delay was, as you know, children are less affected or less severely affected than the older age groups, persons who are in different age categories. And so it has always been said that children are safe. One of the things that the WHO had mentioned is global equity. They want people who are at greater risk to first get it so that you would be able to cover higher risk groups initially. And so
I'm sorry, Dr. Evans Gilbert. I'm told that we have to take a break. Hold on, we'll be right back.
Sure, no problem.
We hit the road again this weekend for I Love Summer Takeover. Join me, Siobhan Blair, your youth ambassador, on Friday, August 27 at the Richmond New Testament Church of God, Main Street, Richmond, St. Mary, for the I Love Summer Youth Fellowship Takeover. And if you can't be on location, be sure to join us live at 7 p.m. We'll also stream across their social media platforms. Youth Fellowship Takeover, Richmond New Testament Church of God, Main Street, Richmond, St. Mary, 7 p.m. I can't wait to see you. It will be an experience. COVID-19 protocols will be observed.
Love 101 FM says thanks to our sponsors, University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, fostering leadership and innovation. Shade Purified Drinking Water. Drink up, stay cool. Distinction College, providing opportunities for you. And Fellowship Tabernacle, building nation changers. I love summer. It's time to explore.
Get ready for another World of Worship Wednesday inside Alive, August the 25th. Stick around for Prayer Blast at 2 o'clock. 2:15, we featured John Delaney, your great name, yes, as our worship artist of the day. Then at 3 p.m., inside the I Love Summer campaign feature Community Conversations, we hear from residents of Archer St. Mary. All this and more will come your way on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and in this, the second watch, we are discussing COVID vaccination of children, risks, realities, and responsibilities. We have online Mrs. Mitzi Harris Dillon, and we have Dr. Tracy Evans Gilbert. Dr. Evans Gilbert, before the break, you're telling us about the concerns that caused the delay, and what are the concerns even now with the Pfizer vaccine?
Okay, first, I would just like to repeat that the WHO, although it granted emergency use authorization, it stated, look, guys, there are old people, there are people at higher risk, healthcare workers, they must get the priority. Vaccinate all those guys first before you start thinking about children because they're at lower risk. It doesn't mean that they're at no risk. It means that they're at lower risk. So a bigger portion of high risk persons should be vaccinated. So they said, yes, go ahead, but make sure you do this before you go ahead with the kids. The next concern that has now been raised is that the evidence is showing that the older adolescents are helping to spread the vaccine. They're transmitting it as equitably as at adults, not the small kids. The evidence does not support much transmission in that age group, but the adolescents are responsible for helping to spread. And as you know, with a Delta variant that is highly transmissible, this age group is we need to put a shield around them and also help to break the chain of transmission in any way possible with whatever tools we have. And those tools in public health are three-pronged. Your personal health, stay healthy. Second prong is public health. Use the measures, clean hands, wear your mask, space yourself out, open the windows for ventilation. And the third prong is vaccination. This has worked over the last 4 decades in the Caribbean. We have, in the past, seen those three things work together so that the Caribbean has led the globe in eradicating measles, polio, diphtheria, tetanus. When other countries were fighting measles outbreaks in the last almost 40 years, we have not seen, 40 years, we haven't seen a case of polio. and they're trying to eliminate it in the world now. But in the Caribbean, we haven't seen a case of polio in almost 40 years. In measles, almost 3 decades. So these are true and tried things. Now, as it relates to vaccines in general, there are going to be some immediate side effects because that is in relation to how your body is reacting to it. And as it goes out in the real world and millions of people get vaccinated, you see some rare side effects emerging, which would not have come out in these trials because they didn't vaccinate 1 million people. They vaccinated thousands of people. And so real world experience are highlighting some rare side effects. One of these with the Pfizer vaccine is the myocarditis or pericarditis that parents have been reading about and are concerned about. According to the Global Vaccine Safety Commission, it's about 40 cases per million.
What's that, by the way, Doc? What is that?
Right, myocarditis. I'm sorry, I'm using a clinical word and making an assumption here. I know some of our audience has read about it and some may have not. Myocarditis is a inflammation of the heart. The patient presents with a little chest discomfort, shortness of breath, and it happens within 1 to 5 days of the vaccine, and then the symptoms are transient and they resolve. This happened in the age group 12 to 29, 40 cases per million second dose. So if we translate that information to what is the risk to our children, and that is why the parents are concerned. Are you giving me something that will harm my children? And what I want to explain to you today is the perception of risk. Now, one thing that I have never spoken about in public, and I'm using this platform now, is that I have been to 7 hospitals across the country, looked in every single docket in those 7 hospitals, and reviewed 181 admissions for COVID in Jamaica. In addition, pediatricians in the Caribbean are sharing their information in their country. So the pediatricians in Jamaica have formed a collaboration to help to see what actually is happening with those that are admitted. And we went to Mandeville, Maypen, Cornwall Regional, Falmouth Hospital, Spanish Town Hospital, Bustamante Hospital, Maypen Hospital, and we reviewed the dockets and the pediatricians showed us what they were seeing. Among those 181 cases that were admitted, there were 28 cases that had cases of what we call multisystem inflammatory syndrome in children. And that is a severe form of COVID that causes heart inflammation. Those children had echocardiograms, that is an ultrasound of the heart, that showed myocarditis, it showed pericarditis, it showed valvulitis. These are all inflammation of different parts of the heart. About 20 something of those children. Caused by COVID. My colleagues in Trinidad had experiences also with multisystem inflammatory syndrome, about 29 cases, but they also saw inflammation of the brain. In my colleagues in the Bahamas, their admissions, they didn't have many admissions. They had 41 admissions. 7 of them were multisystem inflammatory syndrome. Ours were 28 out of 181. So we're roughly seeing a rate of about 15 to 17% of the children who were admitted had multisystem inflammatory syndrome, and they were healthy children. So I want you to perceive the risk. If you have 1 million doses from 12 to 29, that means 40 cases from age 12 to 29 are not all children. If we give 100,000 doses, that would equate to about 4 kids that may have the inflammation.
I want to bring in Mrs. Harris Dillon. We have only 1 minute. Mrs. Harris Dillon, if things don't work out well for the children, who's to be held ultimately accountable?
Well, unless full information is given to our parents, then we expect that the government will be held liable.
The government? The parents and the guardians?
Yes. You need to ensure that our parents and guardians are properly educated so that we can make an informed decision before we give our consent. If we do not know what it is that we are getting into, which is why a lot of our parents are sharing reservations or absolutely where the whole vaccination program is concerned. then you're going to have a problem on your hands. So it is the government's responsibility to ensure through the Ministry of Health and Wellness to ensure that our parents are properly advised. I mean, along with our personal physicians and the trusted sources, but show us. There's kind of a breakdown in trust right now from the responses that we have been getting. So in order to gain that trust, we need to ensure that proper communication, proper engagement.
And are you so confident in that regard?
I would. Well, it is an expectation because this is our government. It is an expectation. We expect that they are going to engage. We will do what we can to assist them. We did indicate that to them.
Okay. Well, we have to leave it there, ladies. I want to thank you both for joining us.
Sorry, I just want to just say the Pediatric Association of Jamaica is supporting this move, and the mothers who are pediatricians are vaccinating their children. Just to say that my son is vaccinated. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Harris. Okay.
All right. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we continue to set the stage for a discussion of topical and controversial issues. For information or to get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-9596-7. This has been The Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Ms. Cassie Gale, and our guests. I'm Dylan Toussaint. Hand you back to Love in the Morning with Roshane Douglas.
Thank you, Dr. Toussaint, and the guests who were inside the Morning Watch for this morning. It's now 8:01 right here on Love 101 FM.